In a world where eating a magical fruit from the skill tree can give you amazing powers, Light hoped for something cool like Firebender or Sword Saint. Instead, he got the totally not epic title of Nutting Master. On the big day, Light and his best friend Lena were excited as they headed to the church. Light dreamed of being an adventurer, happy with any fighting skill, while Lena didn't care what skill she got as long as she could stay by Light's side. They both had high hopes, but fate had other plans. The Holy Sister at the church explained how the skill fruits worked. Take a bite, and you get a power for life. But there was one strict rule: only one fruit per person. Eating a second one was fatal. Lena was nervous, but the sister assured her that one fruit was perfectly safe. Lena went first. She bit into a fruit, and suddenly, her body glowed with power. The Holy Sister was amazed Lena had gained the super rare Sword Saint skill. It meant she was destined to become one of the strongest adventurers in the kingdom. Light cheered for her, proud and excited. Then it was his turn. Light picked a fruit and bit into it, hoping for something useful. Instead, he got the skill of Nutting Master. His dreams of being a great adventurer were crushed. The Holy Sister tried to cheer him up, but the truth was clear: his skill was for farming, not fighting. Light begged for a second chance, but the sister reminded him of the deadly rule: no second fruit. Lena tried to make him feel better, even offering to stay in the village and farm with him. She didn't care about being an adventurer as long as they were together. But the Holy Sister had other ideas. Sword Saints weren't meant to grow nuts, they were meant to fight monsters. She insisted Lena leave for the royal capital to start her training. Lena promised Light she'd come back for him one day. 3 months later, Light was doing his best to adjust. His Nutting Master skill let him grow big, healthy nuts, which he sold in town. But he didn't make much money, and it wasn't the adventurous life he'd hoped for. One day, he saw a poster of Lena. She had already become an S-rank adventurer, famous for her incredible strength. While he was happy for her, it was hard not to feel like a failure in comparison. And so, Light's life became one of quiet farming while Lena rose to greatness. Dreams of adventure, gone. But at least his nuts were the best in town. Light spent every day training, hoping hard work would unlock some hidden sword skill. He'd swing his sword at a tree stump, convinced that splitting it in half would prove he was strong enough to be an adventurer. But instead of glory, all he got were sore wrists and a bruised ego. Lying on the ground, he wondered if Lena even remembered him. She had promised to come back, but with her fame and success, he figured she might have forgotten all about him. That's when Aya, a little girl he'd taken in, showed up with a cup of water. The village chief had left her on his doorstep one day, and Light, seeing she had nowhere else to go, decided to take care of her. She told him dinner was ready, and Light, grateful for the distraction, joined her at the table. As they ate, Aya asked how the harvest went. Light proudly said it went well, especially since he'd started growing skill fruits. But he warned her never to eat them. He'd even labeled the boxes with skull emojis to make it clear they were dangerous. Aya nodded, but then casually mentioned she'd already used some in the stew. Light froze. Wait, what? He panicked, realizing he'd just eaten a second skill fruit, which was supposed to be a guaranteed death sentence. Clutching his chest, he collapsed to the floor, apologizing to Aya for expecting her to understand the labels when she couldn't even read yet. But then, nothing happened. Light sat up, confused. He should have been dead, but he felt fine. Just as he started questioning things, he got a sharp headache, and a wave of power surged through him. Meanwhile, Aya started feeling strange too. Suddenly, she could see words floating in the air, describing Light's Nutting Master skill. Turns out, his skill had an unexpected bonus: immunity to all nut-related poisons. Aya had also gained a skill and appraisal ability that let her read the details of other people's powers. Light was stunned, but one thing was clear: his life as the Nutting Master just got a lot more interesting, especially with Aya by his side. Aya keeps reading Light's skills and notices something surprising. he has a second ability called Sword God. This skill boosts his attack power with a sword and gives him crazy magic resistance. Light is thrilled. Maybe this means his dream of becoming an adventurer can finally come true. To test it, he grabs his sword and runs outside to the forest. With one swing, he not only splits the tree stump he's been training on, but also the massive tree behind it. Yep, Light is officially up now. The next day, Light and Aya head to town so he can join the Adventurers Guild. He's pumped to see the notice board covered in bounty quests. Completing quests means money, better gear, and delicious food. But more than that, he wants to see how his Sword God skill performs in a real fight. While Light heads to the front desk to grab a quest, he tells Aya to wait on a bench. Aya, being curious, uses her appraisal skill to check out the people in the guild. She's amazed by all the cool abilities, but also amused by the useless ones like a guy whose skill literally harms himself. Then, a commotion breaks out at the front desk. Turns out, Light is arguing with a rude adventurer who recognizes him as the nut seller from the market. The guy mocks Light, saying he doesn't belong in the guild. Light brushes him off and tells Aya they're leaving, which only makes the guy mad enough to swing a sword at him. Thanks to his Sword God skill, Light blocks the attack effortlessly. The guy, completely shocked, was apparently ready to commit murder over some bruised ego. Luckily, his friends convince him to back down, saying it's a fight he can't win. Embarrassed, the guy pretends he wasn't serious and leaves with his group. With the drama over, Light and Aya pick up a quest and head to the rocky plains. Light is excited to finally see a real monster. When they spot a slime in the distance, he cautiously approaches, but the slime notices him anyway. Light charges in, slices the slime clean in half, and accidentally splits the ground too. While thrilled his skill is so effective, Light realizes he needs to tone it down to avoid unnecessary destruction. Aya congratulates him on his first successful quest, but they still need to collect slime parts to cash in for a reward. Feeling bad about cutting up the slime, Aya hesitates until Light reminds her they can afford pizza with the money. Suddenly, Aya is team dissection. Just as they're finishing up, they hear shouting. Rushing to the source, they find the rude guy, Jean, and his party under attack by a massive ogre. Apparently, they had taken an easy slime quest, but got more than they bargained for. The ogre swings at them, forcing everyone to scatter. Spotting Light nearby, Jean hatches a genius plan: run straight at him, pass him by, and leave him as bait. Light, realizing their cowardly move a little too late, is now stuck facing the ogre alone. Luckily, this suits him just fine. He needs to test his shiny new Sword God skill anyway. As the ogre swings its massive club, Light dodges to the side, but Aya reminds him that while his skill boosts attack and reflexes, it does nothing for defense. One hit, and he's toast. But Light's no quitter. Determined to become the world's greatest adventurer and reunite with Lena, he leaps into the air, gets a feel for his newfound strength, and slices the ogre's club in half. In one dramatic motion, he follows up with a clean, devastating slash, cutting the ogre in two while Jean and his crew watch slack-jawed from a safe distance. Back at the guild, Light exchanges his items for cash, though the receptionist is skeptical about his claim of soloing an ogre. To prove it, he shows her the ogre's horn, and Jean's friends begrudgingly vouch for him, confirming the story. The receptionist finally accepts it and gets his reward ready, while Jean's buddies awkwardly thank Light for saving their hides. Then, the guild buzzes with excitement. An S-rank party has just returned. To Light's shock, this includes Lena, who he hasn't seen in 3 months. He approaches her, thrilled to say hello, but Lena's response? "I've never met this man before in my life. Ouch." End of episode 1. Don't forget to subscribe, you won't want to miss what happens next.